I'd like to do a kind of a discussion about the comic Superman American Alien, written by Max Landis. A whole bunch of other people contributed to it, but his name kind of gets top billing. First off, we'll start with the cover. Hopefully I have a picture there for it so you can see it. Has a sea of people. Everyone's opening their outer shirt to reveal the Superman shirt underneath. Except in this sea of people we have Clark Kent with his finger over his mouth, motioning for us to be quiet. And it actually is an interesting cover because it's showing that he is not human. He's pretending to be human. And it's kind of also a little fourth wall breaking in that he's motioning for us to be quiet, because it's kind of like, we're in on the joke too, right? But it also has a little bit more, I think, symbolic or mythological perspective on this, because it's almost as if we were dragging him down to our level. And you'll see during the course of the book him struggling with that. Of course, I am looking at the collected books of it. I believe there were like 5 or 6 separate comics when it came out, but I don't buy comics anymore. I just buy collections. The first one is titled Dove, and it might be my favorite one of all of them. It is excellent. I love the artwork. It has almost a little bit of an anime quality to it, just a little bit, and it has a little bit over exaggeration of the characters and their expressions, which I think is great for childhood, because everything when you're a child seems so much more, so much greater. And so I love all the expressions, all the artwork, how Clark's just so happy and so sad during the course of that. Great. And the main problem in this one that he's dealing with is his powers are starting to develop, specifically flight, and he can't control it. But it's more than that. You see a little bit of his relationships with his peers and people around him. The next book is titled Hawk. I'm not so keen on the artwork for this section. It's okay, but it's a little messy and sloppy. I don't know if that's supposed to thematically go with it, because this is when he's more of a teenager. I just don't like really sloppy artwork. It's a style though. Some people do like it, so you may. And it's dealing with him as a teen, and there's a problem. He doesn't want to get involving some criminals, but of course he does end up helping out, and it doesn't go very well. The next chapter, I guess, is titled Parrot. It's kind of funny in this one because he won a free trip to somewhere and he actually crash lands, and he ends up accidentally sort of impersonating Bruce Wayne on a yacht. The artwork is actually really good in this section. It's kind of almost like they took a classic artwork for a comic book and modernized it, upgraded it. So I actually really love it. But it adds a little bit to the story. You feel a little bit of his alienation, a little bit of what he's thinking about, because he's kind of at a crossroads in his life. What is he going to do? That sort of thing. He kind of falls for a girl, has a fling, I suppose you would call it, with her. He runs into Deathstroke, but it's not, the story part isn't that strong. But I do like the visuals, and I do like the artwork in this section. The next one's titled Al. This is where he is introduced to Batman. Artwork again is a little bit sloppy, not a big fan of that. The people are a little bit more expressionless. I wouldn't call it bad artwork, it's just not to my taste. I did think that he has a discussion with who is it? The guy that plays Arrow, Oliver Queen. He also has a discussion with Lex Luthor, which is kind of fun because Lex Luthor is completely egotistical. It's always fun when he's going on his rants. And then he talks to Dick Grayson, which is probably the most fun. We hear a little bit from Dick Grayson talking about Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. However, when he actually does meet Batman, it's kind of anticlimactic, because Batman meets him. Of course, he's Superman, so none of the normal tricks works on him. And then Batman gets away. And I just felt it was anticlimactic, that's all. But not bad. get to see Lex being Lex, and you get a little more information from Dick Grayson when he's small, which is kind of cool because nobody ever talks about Dick Grayson when he was younger. Nowadays, he's always Nightwing, so it was kind of nice to see a throwback to Dick Grayson as a kid and how he is. The next chapter is titled Eagle, and he's starting to become a superhero a little bit, and he's kind of, talking to Lois. He's trying to be a little bit more of a superhero here and there. I like the artwork in this section. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty nice. He runs into a villain. I think it's the Parasite, as I'm looking at it. So, it was good. You get to see a little bit more of his relationship with Lois as it's developing and stuff. You get to see a little bit more Lex Luthor. So we get to see a little bit of development that way with those characters. Next one's titled Angel, and two of his Smallville friends that know Clark is Superman come to visit him. And actually, I like this a whole lot. It was kind of cool seeing him, pal around with friends that knew he was Superman and that grew up with him, that really know him really well. And they get into arguments, a little bit of discussion, and he tries to go into space for apparently the first time, which there's a trick to it apparently, and he doesn't know it, so he has a little bit of a problem. But I would title that one good. Artwork is average. Wasn't super bad, it's not super good either. It almost kind of reminds me of an Archie comic a little bit in a ways. I'm not really sure why, but overall still good section. Next one titled Valkyrie. Again, we have messy artwork. I'm not a big fan of that. And actually in this case, I actually think that this probably isn't very good artwork. Like in a lot of the sections, you can see his eyes are like not matched up, and they look off, almost like he's been beat too many times in the head stuff. So I would actually think, but he runs into Lobo, which is kind of interesting because he's never run into somebody like that before, somebody so super powered on his level. But the more interesting part is at the end of the section when he's actually in the hospital and he's talking to Lois. And I thought that was very sweet, and I did appreciate that ending. Very nice. It's funny, Superman gets in a fight with Lobo, but it's more interesting when he's talking to Lois at the end, I think. But it's still, that might just be because of that messy artwork that I didn't feel was I didn't really care for that, and it just wasn't very good. Those are the sections. Something that I think that they tried to do in this book is they really took Superman as an outsider that doesn't know anything about his origins. He doesn't know about Krypton. He doesn't know about being a Kryptonian. He truly feels alone in the book in a lot of sections. And I would definitely recommend it as a good read. I definitely think there are some new concepts and ideas that he puts in there that only add to the Superman story. A little anticlimactic on Batman's Superman section, but almost like it shouldn't have been included almost. Like you could have just dropped that out and it wouldn't have made any difference in any of the story or the book. But definitely give it a strong recommendation. Now on the back here it says it costs $24.99. I don't think I paid that much for it. Seems a little expensive, but by now you can probably get it a little bit cheaper. But it is, especially that first section, it's so good with the childlike. The artwork is paired perfectly with childhood, with the over expressions, the exaggerated expressions, and you really get the idea of him being so happy as a kid at certain times and being so sad and being exhilarated and so proud of himself and at certain points, and even the expressions of his parents, like his mom in particular. I thought I really had really good expressions, and I'd definitely have to give that one just A++. Perfect. I don't think you could do any better than that for a comic book. It was that first section. I think it was titled Dove. Yeah. And the others do add some other things to it. Like I said, messy artwork I'm not a big fan of. So we just have to deal with that. But like I said, some people actually do like that messy form of artwork. So it does use a wide variety, I think, of artistic styles in there. So you're definitely going to find at least a few that you really, really, really like. Probably some you're lukewarm on. There might be one or two that you just don't like that much because it's your personal taste. And like I said, I don't think any of it's actually bad artwork, maybe till the last section. It's just really messy and not very very good in my opinion. Strong recommendation. Really pick it up. I think it definitely adds to the Superman story and adds to his origin, and in a way adds a bit more. I've noticed that a lot of times when they tell stories about Superman as a child, they're getting better. And I think at this point I would almost like to see really a movie about Superman as a child. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below.